Today, my viewers are my mother, my father, and my dogs. Okay. Just think, how old are you? Do you know where you are? Do you know where you live? Or what's your name? These are only some of the questions they ask you when you have a concussion. Probably should joke about that, but let's move on. Now, according to the CDC, many people can become disabled or have a severe injury that could lead to death. It's scary, I know, but just keep listening now. Almost 49% of the ED, say kids that go to them 1 month to 17 years old, were diagnosed with concussion due to falls. Now, this speech, I'm going to talk to you about what a concussion is, how to identify a concussion with signs and symptoms, and lastly, how to look at the steps to recover from a concussion. What is a concussion, you ask? It's a traumatic brain injury, TBI, not to get oriented with TBH, very different, and it's caused by a big jolt of movement to the head or the upper body area. And that's what heads up states. Now, it can damage brain cells, and it can also damage how you function and how your brain can grow up, I guess I should say. Now, a fun example that I was there for is a softball example. Now, pretend you're getting down into a grounder or a ball coming at you. You don't realize it's a line drive to the face. You get knocked over, your face mask that you wear gets knocked over 10 feet behind you. And as the medical provider said, it's mild, not threatening, don't worry about it, just stay home for a couple of days. It may be true, but it has long-term effects if you don't treat it correctly. You may not know you've had a concussion, which means you need to know the symptoms and signs. Starting off with the signs. Number 1, the eyes. The eyes may become wider or more vibrant with the pupils. Then you want to sleep a lot more. You have the desire to sleep and you don't have time to, or don't feel like you want to get up. Another thing is headaches. Headaches can be a big issue with concussions. Now, speech. Your speech can be slurred and become more slower once you have a concussion and slowly trying to get out of it. Another one, vomiting. Vomiting is not as likely as a headache, but it can still happen right as the moment you had a concussion. Confusion. Confusion is a big one that they do not talk about. That's why they ask you questions in the beginning of who you are, what are you doing, do you know where you are. And lastly is consciousness. If you do not have a consciousness of where you are or what you're doing, and you just feel like it's spinning, the world's spinning around you, probably a concussion. Now, going into long-term effects. Long-term effects include loss of memory. Now, the loss of memory is a major part of a concussion. Many people of the NCAA say that if the athletes that they have a concussion, they typically have a lower term memory due to their concussions and brain injuries, which can lead back to the brain cells. Now, the learning capability. If you're at school and you can't learn, you can't focus, after a big hit, you may have a big sign of a concussion. Now, with regular activities, maybe even in the house or even around school, pretending you know where you are and you really don't know where you are at school. There are many ways to treat concussions after you're diagnosed with a concussion. Everyone has a unique concussion to their own situation. Now, the best way to treat concussion is to rest. The rest is a major part of concussions. It helps you become better more faster and quickly. And you want to limit loud noises. Loud noises can be a major problem when you have a headache and you also have a concussion. It's a big headache, all in one jumble. Nextly, you want to limit big jolt movements like sprints if you're a track runner, if you if you do tennis or if you even do football, you want to take a good week or 2 weeks off just to make sure you're okay. You'd rather miss 2, maybe 3 games than the rest of your season. Now, lastly, I've already said it, but a good night's rest is a huge thing for a big recovery after a concussion. And you want to avoid heavy lifting. If you're in a weightlifting group, if you're in school and you're weightlifting, or even if you have a job moving things, you want to take a good break, because all that force could not kill your brain. You'd be brain dead, but it'll send a release out. It'll just be bad. You don't want that. Now, to reintroduce our activities, you have to do that at home first. See how you feel, and if you feel fine, then move on to the next thing. The next thing would be to return to school or your job. Now, to return to your job, and you kind of feel sick, go back home for another day or 2 and see how you feel after. Nextly, avoid screen time. Screen time is a big ordeal due to the UV light. It can stunt your brain and also make your mind more jumbled as it already is due to your concussion. Lastly, make a doctor's appointment follow-up. So a follow-up doctor's appointment. Now this will help you in a lot of ways because they have the technical term of a doctor degree that can help you show, oh, you still have a concussion, you still need to be out. But now, in conclusion, concussions are a type of traumatic brain injury, TBI, that lead to significant long-term complications. Good ways to prevent this is knowing how to identify a concussion, the signs you need to see before or after a big jolt or hit due to a concussion or to get a concussion, and knowing ways to treat it. And lastly, knowing how to recover from that concussion. That is my speech for Module 5 for Metro Speech.